Esports are just one thing with the ability to conjure potent emotions in all of us. It just so happens that they're damned good at it.
Just one thing I want to say. Fighting game is something so great.
Damn it, why did you have to say that?
Well, I know, you guys don't know, that's what got James the worst. It almost got me too, I won't lie.
It might feel like a weird fit when a fist bump and a shouted nice is the typical affirmation a player receives.
Bro, get away from him. Everyone left him hanging. He had him on the edge of the... Oh, come on. How are you going to do this? Oh, please. Oh! Hey!
But this is competition, after all. It's not just about finding out who the best are and putting them in a numbered spreadsheet. It's about the humans behind the hoists and highlights.
And all of us need to show example on this tournament for whole world. We need to stay together as a unit with our fans, with our friends, with everyone who's gonna watch this tournament.
So while many esports players display a cool professionalism, or at least a charming awkwardness.
Iboy, how is it that you're able to play with so much confidence on the world stage?
There are a few players who are very different. They wear their heart on their sleeve and regularly let their emotions out for the viewers to see. And perhaps no one fits that bill better than French CS veteran Dan Apex Madesclaire.
Yeah.
Apex essentially grew up on a Counter-Strike server, but despite now being a wizened veteran of the franchise, his emotional timbre is actually one of the few things about him that hasn't changed very much.
Astralis can actually continue to put the pressure on Vitality here. Apex, man, okay, I can't repeat what he said, but it's pretty good.
A career this long that has taken him to places that most of us plebs can only imagine means adaptation. It means changing yourself from an explosive entry to an engineering in-game leader, to remain relevant as a past generation disperses and a new one steps into their place. What it doesn't mean is that you have to stop doing stuff like this.
Quality, la 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 la. Rêver de tant de choses que demain soit meilleur qu'hier.
J'y crois pas, comment je suis beau. Le mec parfait, zéro défaut.
So who is Apex really? How did he make the positional swap that let him continue playing Counter-Strike at a high level even as he started encroaching upon the big 3-0? And why is it that you can take Apex out of French CS?
Fantastic.
But you can't take the French CS out of Apex.
What a spray! Apex!
Okay guys, so before we dive into Apex's story, I gotta do the thing where I ask you to please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We are excitingly close to 2 million subs, and you could be the one to help us get there. Okay, so if you're not familiar with Dan Madesclaire, there's a bit of history you should know. And for that, we need to go all the way back to 2012, a year when people were obsessed with Korean dance moves, stuntmen were leaping from outer space, and Counter-Strike would change forever. You see, before the release of Global Offensive, the French Counter-Strike scene was largely playing Source, which to some was the illegitimate heir to 1.6's throne. And that was where France's early stars in the next game would be born. They were one of the strongest regions in the world, and their final form, Very Games, was a veritable who's who of French aiming prowess. That included Apex, who had earned his competitive chops as an entry fragger. But not just any kind of entry. You see, Apex was the kind of entry who, frankly, liked to go hard.
RPK takes down Smiz, Scream takes down one onto RPK. Apex answers back, he took him down. Getting a second one onto Uzi, that's 2 headshots in a row. Apex with some amazing aim. Shoxy takes down NBK. Apex takes down Horks. So skipping forward here. Apex. That Deagle takes down Smiz. Very Games picking up the pistol round on CT side. Existence takes down Screams. Horks takes down Hard to get the headshot. Existence and Apex combine. Oh, Apex with 2 more with the Deagle. Apex pushing his way onto the cat, trying to make sure they don't take it. Existence takes down 1. Apex gets 2 more, 1 onto Scream and Horks, and Existence finishes it off. It's going to make it 4-3 now in favor of Very Games, so making a bit of a comeback. It's early on though. Match. Nexus on a Deagle. Apex takes down 2 on a Horks and Scream. Smiz gets dropped by NBK. Kenny S takes down Shox and a grenade.
The release of CSGO brought together both 1.6ers and Sorcerers, and the French were no exception. While Apex didn't make it onto the inaugural Very Games roster for Go, his wild, unmitigated aggression made him an absolute staple of the French scene.
Apex inside here, going to pick up an easy double, triple, all headshots, going for another one, and he's going to get it, and it's actually going to be the ace from Apex.
And when they peeked out one by one, before the bomb was even being planted, it gave Nip the opportunity to just kill them all. It looks like Nip here just clearing everything slow and methodically, but they're actually taking a lot of casualties.
It's Apex who just delivers a phenomenal hat-trick. Dispatching of 3 NIP players. He's all on his lonesome, but now he has but 1 player left to find. And now Exist will run over, get it, and he will be spotted. And it will be Apex to win the round single-handedly for LDLC.
It's still causing a bit of a nuisance. Apex is on site here, but he's going to get surrounded by 3. Gets 2 in a row. Oh, my word. That is absolutely brilliant from Apex.
But he's always been a grinder. A guy trying to spend as much time in the server as possible, and he's always drawn admiration for his willingness to do whatever it takes to get the team motivated and moving.
What is love? What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me no more. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me.
In a way, that was a skill forged in the fires of French CS. And, well, it's volatility. It's common knowledge that as the region's fortunes rose and fell, the rosters of French orgs often shuffled in an attempt to try out new configurations and perhaps luck into that one major winning combination. These constant shuffles meant that there was a fucking minefield of interpersonal problems that crept up over the years. And when the dust finally settled and a roster was finalized, there were certain kinds of players that seldom made sacrifices in terms of role. For example, oppers traditionally got to op, and rosters were often completely built around a specific IGL's vision of a French lineup. So, for better or for worse, it was usually the other 3 guys on the team making sacrifices in terms of positional preference. If the lineup had an all-star rifler, they usually got a pass too. But not everyone can be Shox or Kenny S. And this is how you got the other, but still critical pieces of French rosters that remain underrated even today. Think NBK, RPK, Happy, and Kiyoshima. Guys who pretty much did the dirty work from the shadows, and who were necessary for the team to win. Apex, who was neither an Opper nor an IGL, was no exception. And while Apex did miss out on the first major that France won, he was a part of the region's 2nd roster to do so in 2015.
He's going to be stuck in this position, and there is one player that's going to challenge him as the T's spill into the bomb site. It's going to be Apex with the 5-7 and Happy from the back to pick up frags. It's looking quite good here for Envious. Multiple kills coming in. Apex there from Forklift doing a massive amount of damage. Yes, he will get the final kill with the wallbang. Apex, phenomenal performance with that pistol.
So as long as you don't get headshot, you're probably going to win that fight.
And already Guardian boosted up, looking for that headshot, and it's Apex who lands it first. There's your starting Toad, and we go for the pop flash, gonna drop as well. They're hunting for Flame in. Apex has been unleashed. 2 kills for him to start things off, but Edward is doing work as well. Apex, a 3rd kill for him, and he's on the way to the ace. If he can get it again, he gets a quad, and now it's just gonna be down to Seized. What got into Apex during that break? What have they told this guy?
And it was that very same year that fans began to take notice of just how animated of a character Apex was, which really came to the fore with this now iconic image of him becoming one of the community's most recognizable memes.
Apex is one of those guys that the camera ops, the producers, they know they can cut to him when something crazy happens and they're going to get a great reaction. And that's something you can't say for every pro. Apex brings the emotional impact of rounds to a whole other level, and it's one of the things that I think has really earned him fans over time. It's an added dimension that I think a lot of people underestimate, the personality factor of the player.
What do you think makes EU better than NA?
What?
What do you think makes Europe better than North America?
Well, it's I think it's mainly because of the T side. Yeah, I don't know, but mainly when I see Cloud9, I'm like, what the f are they doing? It's too slow, it's too... I don't know, it's too easy to play, I guess.
Well, it was really hard game because we lost the first map 16-2, which is like a... I don't know how to say, but it's like we got f***ed. So, yeah, I had to say that.
You have two players there who need to get by, and obviously the presence, and that is extremely...
I love it. I want us to go through and to go to the playoff. That's all my wish right now. So yeah, focus on the third map, and I just want to wreck those Brazilians. Those Australians. What the f I'm saying? Sorry.
V for Victor is one thing, but he doesn't really care who's on the opposing end there. He wants the Brazilians, he wants the Australians, he wants them all, Chad.
We're quite a far away from Brazil, so we're in the Southern Hemisphere. It doesn't really matter. I get the point. I get the point.
As the French shuffles continued into 2017, Apex found himself as part of a long-fabled French super team, G2 Esports. And let me tell you, they hit the ground running.
Come on, G2, they're making their way towards B. In fourth.
Peek up by Chris J gets the first one. They should punish him right now, and they do. Low on HP as the Terrorist comes streaming in.
Rushing in towards the site, it's Apex doing the damage, gonna get himself 2. Dennis does get 1 in return. Looking to try and close the gap that much more. He's on 3 frags. Apex, the man with a plan in this pistol. Dennis falling on back, stuck between a rock and a hard place. Will go down as Apex picks up 4. NBK dispatching of Oscar, and there is the start that G2 wanted.
Az is going to be on a Deagle, P250s across the rest of the team as well. A bit of utility to get something done, but we're not really expecting too much. Some aggression from Patra, and actually might be able to catch that one. Kenny S is dropped, Apex trades, as he finally switches back to his weapon, and they're just going to take that pick with, you know, a charge into the A site, just completely barreling their way in. As another one comes through for Apex, finds Snacks as well, and Bialy will be dropped. This man is just on fire, 3 kills. And 2 will remain, only 1 more left on the site, but he should be aware that Neo's in his back corner in a second.
Neo still alive and kicking, finally going to go down at the hand of Apex. He's looking to try and get another ace, and it's well and truly on the cards. There we go, the man himself.
So they will move in, but they're going to have to be cautious of mid. As Automatic pushes himself into Z's. It's a good nade, though, as you keep in mind. A lot of these players don't necessarily have armor, but nothing swinging back out. Now Arm with the AK gets a kill. Apex able to trade onto 2, and now it falls down to this mid player moving back in. Automatic going to leap back downstairs, but Apex able to save it.
The thing is, these early honeymoon phase successes were nothing new to freshly formed French rosters, and neither were the dramatic, eventual, inevitable declines. And as the G2 experiment eventually moved on to new players, following an extremely French CS breakup, it called into question the future of both the region and the players who'd failed to propel it forward. In the wake of G2's roster implosion in 2018, Apex went looking for a change, and he found it on Vitality. The first major factor was, of course, ZywOo, the most explosive French opera to emerge since Kenny S. But the team also seemed open to doing things a bit differently. Even though the roster was mostly French, UK IGL Alex was added as the team's leader months after the initial roster was signed. Though Alex eventually left, it gave Apex an opportunity to try something he'd never done: pick up the reins and become an IGL.
Un malheur amène un bonheur au final. Il y a toujours du positif dans le négatif, comme j'aime souvent dire. Au final, oui, ça m'a permis de m'essayer à lead et à être capitaine, et je pense que ça m'a totalement servi dans ma carrière à pouvoir certainement la prolonger et à avoir de nouveaux objectifs. Donc au final, non, moi je suis quand même heureux de ce qui s'est passé un peu plus de 2 ans, clairement.
Now, for a balls-to-the-wall bruiser like Apex, this was a big change. But it's what needed to happen if his region was going to get some much-needed direction, energy, and firepower.
Simple does everything within his power, catching that shot onto RPK. You'd think he'd done enough. Apex plays it to perfection, though. That Palace after plan, it wasn't even a Palace plan.
Oh, no. Oh, Jesus, Dan.
He must live back here to buy the time, and a nice flick. Take down Convict. Shots just through. What a spray! And it's a triple to end it.
But now, Zywoo, now the final boss is here, and you're not going to get past him.
I love Apex so much.
But things were about to change even more, because Vitality's roster, essentially the last French CS lineup that could truly be considered tier 1, was going international. While the team was far from terrible, 2021 was just extremely inconsistent. For a roster with the most explosive and exciting prodigy the esport had seen in years, top 8 at a major just wasn't enough. So they went north to find even more firepower. Adding Danish destroyers Magisk, Dupree, and coach Zonic, Vitality was now an unholy alliance between France and Denmark. And while that had obvious advantages, the so-called Astrality roster had some challenges that Apex had to address as well. Firstly, well, it was emotional. The move was reported widely long before it actually happened, and the roster had a tight bond. Plus, it was the last tier 1 French roster, at least for now.
What happened in Vitality, he became an in-game leader, he grew like that, and I always talk about these days, you know, it's not just the coach or just the in-game leader, they're a duo, right? They need to have a good relationship, they need to be on the same page, and I think you can see from the shots we've seen now, like, you know, him and Extas, there's mutual respect there, I think, from all of the players.
The team's identity was another question. Glaive's Astralis had a tightly defined system, while Apex used his intuition built over years of competition as a mid-round wildcard. So which would prevail in Vitality? Even communicating would have to change, and they had an interesting system for that. One that apparently involved Pepsi.
On a instauré un dictionnaire dans l'équipe où on dit des mots qui veulent dire des phrases en fait, et au final pour se comprendre le plus vite possible en fait. Par exemple, j'avais déjà donné l'exemple, mais par exemple quand on n'a pas une zone et qu'on la lâche, on dit Pepsi, on dit le mot Pepsi. Et en fait le mot Pepsi, direct ça, au lieu de dire hey, écoute Jean-Louis, le connecteur n'est pas pris, et tu dis Pepsi connector, et directement tu raccourcis et tu parles moins. Et le mot Pepsi, c'est pas un mot que tu vas dire n'importe quand dans un match, donc le mec ça va le titiller directement dans sa tête. Et c'est des petits moyens mémotechniques qu'on a réussi à faire.
But the real question is, how is Apex as an international IGL working out? Well, they slid in the standings a bit after the change, and there are clearly some kinks to be worked out, but they did manage to qualify for the Antwerp Major, and once they got there, clapped cheeks in the challenger stage.
Oh my god! No! B-stack, perfect read, smoke headshot. How did he hit it? He wasn't even scoped, it barely looked like it. And of course, Zywoo multi-kills on bench with a FAMAS. The fact he's at B could come as a bit of a surprise. Right now, Fours still working. Oh, Apex! He might have been the first man to fall in the last couple of rounds, but there, he delivers with the deagle. Oh my goodness. And Apex can't believe it that that's how the round starts.
In the span of a 13-year playing career, Apex has evolved from being a fearsome French entry fragger into a general that his comrades are willing to follow into battle without hesitation. But in spite of the fact that he's matured into the closest thing France has to a tier 1 IGL, fans can rest assured that regardless of the level of responsibility that falls on his shoulders, he'll never stop being the same old Apex.
We do have Apex with us, so Mathieu, you're going to be able to ask him a couple of questions. Hello, Apex. Congratulations.
Hello, thank you. I just want to ask Pimp how many tournaments he won in his career. It's really important for me.
0.
Okay, thank you.
I really just wish we could sound up to I go hard in the motherfucking paint. I really, it's like, it's perfect, you know, like you could be the one to help us get there. Yes, you could be the one You can help us get there. All of you together, combined.